Salutations and welcome back to Let's Play Tales of Phantasia. This is Edgar. In the previous installment, we descended deep into the Moria gallery, and not only did we put more booming claffs bling bling, we got more bling bling in the form of 2 rings, and one of those rings happens to have a moonstone, which we are going to need to contract with the moon spirit Luna. Unfortunately, the moonstone ring is broken, and so is the topaz ring we collected down there as well. We are consulting with Runglum as to our next course of action, but Claff, paranoid fuck that he is, will drag Runglum outside the castle for the conversation. Runglum will oblige because she is a classy lady. Our immediate goal is to repair those 2 rings, and while Runglum has no clue how to go about this task, she will direct us to her friend Edward. Edward is like Runglum in that elven blood flows through his veins, and he might look strikingly similar to another character when we find him, but first we have to actually find him, and we are about to go on a wild goose chase. Before we head out though, Cliss is going to receive some scorn from a rather angry god. So, letter from Runglum in hand, and directions given to the west of Alvanista, we are heading out to Edward's house. It's just a stone's throw from Alvanista, so you should have no problem locating it. Just look for the single house near the donut-shaped lake. When you arrive, simply go and knock on the door. Edward's wife will come out and let you know what's happening. Of course Edward is not here, that would be too bloody easy, wouldn't it? You might remember Freeland, we went there for the Spiritifrit. Looks like we are going back. Okay, so we are one step closer to tracking this man down. Before we head to the docks to take a boat to Freeland, you want to head south around the mountain near Edward's house. If you come down this way along the beach, you will find another lone house, although in actuality this one is simply a tent. There are 2 NPCs roaming around here, and one of them is a swordswoman who will teach Cliss a new combined art completely free of charge. The combined art you receive for talking to this woman is Burning Soul, which is a combination of Flaming Pigeon and Blade Storm, and although it's not all that useful, it's free, so you really can't complain. We still have a long way to go before we have mastered either of those skills, however. Once you have it, simply head back past Alvanista and then south to reach the docks. You will need to pay another 320 gold for passage to Freeland, but that's chump change. Your first destination when you arrive will be Olive Village. You should remember it, it was that one village where it was hot as balls. If Edward is down in Freeland, he has doubtlessly passed through. Now, a word of warning, we were fortunate enough to avoid encountering a basilisk in the desert the last time we were here, but this time, you are going to need to fight and kill at least 5 of the bastards, because they can drop basilisk scales, and you are going to need 5 of them to advance the plot. The party will talk to Rex. Rex has just directed us to the southern oasis, and that's where we are heading next. But before you even think about fighting the basilisks in the desert, you need to head into the item store and make sure you are fully stocked up with remedy bottles. Basilisks have the very annoying ability to petrify your party members with a single glance, and while there is an accessory in the game that will grant you immunity to this effect, we do not yet have such an accessory, so we will need to do this the hard way. Petrify is just like paralyze, except worse, because while an enemy will continue to beat on a paralyzed party member, a petrified party member is for all purposes considered dead by the game, and if Klus gets turned to stone, the enemy will simply walk right past him to your spellcasters. We have a full stack, so let's head a short way south to the oasis. Annoyingly, basilisks aren't the only enemy you will encounter out here. We have upgraded harpies here, but they're not particularly tough. Especially now that we have the dapper gentleman Maxwell in Claw's Bling Bling. Maxwell should be your summon of choice for dealing to the basilisks. He does far more damage than all of Claw's other spirits combined. Let's check out the oasis. In the oasis, you will see a single person standing by the water. Go and talk to them. So Edward is not here, and we have been directed to the next oasis. See what I mean by wild goose chase, boys and girls. Grab the rune bottle from the chest, and head to the south end of the screen, because there is a well-hidden flame mantle lurking behind the trees. It's a fair trek to the next oasis, and in the interests of encountering those damn basilisks, we are going to use a dark bottle to bump up the encounter rate. You will encounter other enemies, but only the basilisk is a dangerous opponent out here in the dunes. So now you know what to expect from the basilisks. For the record, no, turning Klus around so he is not facing the basilisk will not save you from its petrifying gaze. The only ways are to either be out of range, to jump over it, or to be flat out immune to it. Even more annoyingly, the stupid lizard Upham died before the remedy bottle could take effect, so I've been forced to use another outside of combat to remove Klus from his stony prison. Oh well, back to work. You'll encounter upgraded bugbears in the desert, but one round of Maxwell will end them quickly. Somewhat irritatingly, you have a better chance of finding basilisks the deeper you progress into the desert, dark bottle or not, so don't hang around Olive Village or you'll never get this finished. My kingdom for a basilisk. Two basilisk scales down, 3 to go, and we have reached the next oasis. In this oasis, you will find a geriatric old prick who wants to troll you. And once again Edward is nowhere to be found. Elusive bugger this guy. Grab the medicine bottle from the chest and head back to the world map. The next oasis is due northwest of here, so head in that direction. It sure is lack of basilisk in here. Come on game, I still need 3 scales. Get some popcorn folks, this could take a while. Three basilisk scales down, 2 to go. We're over halfway complete. We have also reached the next oasis, but I encourage you to get any remaining basilisk scales you need before entering. The reason for this is that the NPC in the oasis will cause the game to return you to Olive Village after you talk to them, and since you encounter basilisks more frequently out here, you might as well save yourself a little time. We are having stellar luck with the drops, only 1 basilisk scale remaining to collect. That very nearly went to complete shit, but we have managed to collect the final basilisk scale. Take a moment to confirm that you have 5 in total. Excellent, we have 5 basilisk scales. So let's head on into the oasis. In this oasis you'll see some strange creatures walking about, but ignore them. Behind the trees is a very well hidden mental ring, be sure to grab it. Then head directly north of it to collect a life bottle. Once you've got both items, head to the wooden landing at the south end and talk to the NPC. The game will automatically take you back to Olive Village, and the party will once again talk to Rex. Now, head into the inn if you have 5 basilisk scales, otherwise head back into the desert and collect more. You must have at least 5 basilisk scales to advance the plot at this point. Really, mint. Stay at the inn, Edward will show up while your party is resting. Say hello to Edward. Doesn't he look strikingly familiar? And there it is. Behold, we have found Turnix's ancestor. A whole lot of plot is about to take place. First, we will all retire to the room with the beds so Clark can discuss the matter of the bling with Edward Morrison. Edward will reveal to Clark that the two rings in question were crafted by the ancient dwarfs, the same ones who made the Moria Gallery their home, and since nobody alive can match the craftsmanship of their ancient smiths, it looks like a total dead end. But fortunately, there is a way, and that way involves consulting with the spirit Origin, who also happens to be the king of the ancient dwarven culture. Origin can be found deep within the Mir Forest, home of the elusive elves, but the problem with this is that, like the Moria Gallery, the place is off limits, and you will require permission from the royal family to gain access. Fortunately, this won't prove to be an issue, since we have a high-ranking connection in Drumglum. That said, there is a rather strict law that the elves have. The elves consider half-elves to be abominations, and as such, half-elves are not allowed into the Mir Forest. Any half-elf caught within the forest is to be put to death. And remember, we happen to have a half-elf in our party. As Edward begins to take his leave, Clis will chase after him, and show him the book that Turnix gave him shortly before whisking him and Mint 100 years backwards through time. Edward will recognize his own signature in the book, but will claim to know no family member named Turnix. Clis will explain that he can't know him, because he hasn't even been born yet, and that he and Mint were sent back in time by Edward's descendant. Edward was just about to give up his research on time travel, but thanks to Clis's intervention, will continue his work, and just as well, because had he given up, there's no way Clis and Mint could have been here at all. The scene will return to the inn, and to Mint explaining herself and Clis to Archie, since Archie has no idea that they are from the future, while Clark was told before we even left his house. And finally, the scene will return outside, with Clis and Edward engaged in conversation about time travel and paradoxes and shit. When we have attained the necessary power, we are to meet Edward in the city of Midgard, far to the north of Olive Village. Before we head in that direction, we must return to Albanista, because we have to repair the two rings in the Mir Forest, and we are not going to get in there without permission from the royal family. So, I will meet you all back in Albanista's castle. We must consult with Drumglum once again. Getting permission is no problem, but we must force one day to pass, and we will do this by heading into Alvanista and sleeping at the inn. Once you have done this, simply return to Runelam, and she will not only give you the pass allowing you into the Mir Forest, she will also give you directions to the forest itself. She will take a moment to remind you that half-elves are not allowed into the forest, even with royal permission. And so, the party is now granted access into the forest of Mir, and into the secluded elven village. Well, almost all of the party. As a half-elf, Archie is not allowed into the forest, or she will be executed, so she will separate from your group at this point. It's time to head to the Mir Forest. To get to the Mir Forest, you will need to cross the bridge leading east, and then head south, and finally west when you reach the Doctor-free land. You are down one party member in the forest, and the forest is a very dangerous enemy, so prepare yourself for some nasty fights, and bring a bunch of remedy bottles just to be on the safe side. Head west at this point, around the north side of the mountain. Of course, collect chicken as you go, because fucking everything in this game drops it for whatever reason. Outside the forest, you will encounter some pushover enemies. It's the ones in the forest itself that are a nightmare. You will find a large lake shaped like a horseshoe, with some trees on the land in the middle. This is the elven forest. I would encourage you to set Flaming Pigeon as a long-range skill for class, because it can really murder some of the enemies in the Mir Forest. For close range, I would strongly recommend Blade Storm. The most dangerous enemy needs to be kept the hell away from you, and Blade Storm is the best skill you have for this sort of job. Now, the Mir Forest is separated into two parts, with the elven village between the two. Both serve as mazes, and both have the same groups of enemies to fight. The guard will stand aside when you show that you have permission to enter the forest. So, you will have to work your way through a little maze to reach the elven village. This maze is far smaller than the one behind the elven village, but still manages to be a pain in the bum. This is the only easy encounter in the forest. Just use Flaming Pigeon and you win. I forgot, turn Undine off, because she will simply heal most of the enemies in the Mir Forest. Okay, so here's how to get to the village. You need to head north to exit this screen. And these are snake men, and are the most dangerous group of enemies in the forest. I know they don't look like much, but these bastards can petrify your party members with their attacks, and can charge, making them a lot more risky to fight than the basilisk. It's hard as heck to even run from these fuckers. Do not let everybody get turned to stone or you lose. Damn it all, everybody got petrified, and that's game over. I told you these bastards are dangerous. There is an item tucked away in the second maze section of the forest that will really help you out against these pricks, but until we reach it, you might want to rely on holy bottles to keep yourself out of trouble. Those snake men can game over you lightning fast. Take number 2. Hopefully we don't run into those pricks again. Now these little flower ladies I am perfectly okay with, since a single Flaming Pigeon will end their shit. Follow this path to reach the next screen. You'll find a save point, and thank heavens it's there. There are snake men out and about, I say. If you want some treasure, head to the right to start with. You can also encounter trees to fight. They are identical to the mini-boss we fought on Demitel's Island, so you know the drill. Just keep your spellcasters out of range of the massively annoying shake attack. 2 chests to claim in this screen. This one contains a mixed gummy. You will need to follow the log bridge around to reach the second. This is all fine and dandy. Keep those god-awful snake men away from my party, I say. Damn it all. Clist can be knocked out of Flaming Pigeon by Shake, and it sucks when it happens. Alright, let's see about that chest. It's a sage, that's worth the trouble. Now we need to head back to the save point. Oh god, the snake men are back. Hopefully, having Clark all the way at the front to tank will change the result. As long as I can keep him unpetrified. I don't care, I am going to spam Flaming Pigeon until all of these green pricks are dead. Well, that's one way to do it. And Mint just picked up the haste spell. Haste will speed your movements up, but it's going to be overshadowed by a stronger spell later in the game, so I'm probably never going to bother with it. Good to see Clark has not forgotten how to booksmack his way to victory. Holy apples, Batman. So, let's head to the left side of the save point this time. This will lead you to one final screen of this maze, and the elven village can be found at the northern exit, but there are quite a few herbs you can collect first. In fact, one of the herbs will be in your way, so it's completely impossible to miss. You don't have to go too far out of your way for the others, however, so I'd recommend you go for them, in spite of the god-awful snake men lurking in the trees. Heading north of that crossroads will take you to the elven village. You can collect one herb by heading south, and yet another by heading west, so grab the shit. Heading south at the crossroads nets you a lavender. Well, that settles things then. Horrible snake men who can petrify you to death are no match for Clark's mighty booksmacking methods. Always bet on Booksmacker. Heading west nets you another lavender. That's all the treasures from the south maze. The northern maze is much bigger, and has a whole fuck ton of treasure, but there's only one treasure in there that we are interested in, and luckily, it's on the route we will have to take. At any rate, head north to enter the elven village. When you arrive at the village, the elves will immediately move to kick you out, but since we have the royal seal, they will begrudgingly allow us inside. You will be introduced to Rambard at this point. Rambard can be considered the elf in charge around here, and Clark will converse with him about the 2 rings. The Heimdall stone is deep within the second maze, and getting to it is a real bitch. I will give you directions as best as I can. If you notice the beds, this is actually the inn. When you go to leave this building, take a good look at the NPC behind the counter with long pink hair. We are now free to explore the elven village, but there's not a whole lot to see here. I will show you around anyway. This is the weapon store, but you can't buy a damn thing in here. The NPC will say that he only sells bows for archers. Yep, he only makes bows. Never mind the cleaver and the flail here. And never mind the sword here. And never mind all the shit in this corner, he only makes bows. Yeah, fucking right, mate, whatever you say. If you only sell bows, why in the name of God do you have a giant fucking two-handed sword outside your building? Fuck logic, this is Tales of Phantasia. Head into the item store, because you can actually buy shit from here. Stock up on whatever you're short on. The forest we are about to enter is absolutely huge, and heaven help you if you lose track of where you are. No escape ropes in this game. Of course you do, you silly elves. I am getting cranky just looking at that stupid sword. Anyway, we have seen the inn, the item store, and the weapon, I use that term loosely, store. There is also a locked building down in this corner. You can't get in there, so just head north. You can find the food store due north of the locked building, but you aren't going to need food in the forest, especially since the tree enemies drop apples loads of the time, so you can fill your food sack using those if you can be bothered. At the north end, Rambard will be waiting for you. Approach him, and he will join your party as an NPC. We are now tasked with making our way to the Heimdall Stone, and Rambard will instruct you to follow the small critters, as they lead the way. I know the directions, and will wholly bottle my way through here, because there are snake men, I say. Much like Archie when she was possessed by the spirit of Leah Scarlet, Rambard will not help you in combat. Welcome to the Treants Forest, what is possibly the most confusing place in the game, and that includes the bonus dungeon. You can spend hours in here collecting all the treasure, but as I said, only one treasure interests us, and we can collect it on the way to the Heimdall Stone. So follow my directions. Head north. Head north a second time. And head north a third time. Now you want to head to the east. That chest has a life bottle if you need it. Head all the way east in this larger area. Now head to the north. As I said, you'll encounter the same enemies in here. The only dangerous things are those horrible snake men. So, let's continue north, grabbing the savory as we proceed. Head north yet again. And now head east. East again, it's a straight shot. You'll be in a large area, head south. Head south again. Good news, the treasure we have so desperately been after is in this area. You can locate it under this tree. This is a Gorgon amulet, an accessory that makes the bearer immune to the petrify effect. Equip it on Clus the instant you get it, it makes the snake men far less scary to fight. I'll take a second to put the party back into normal formation. Claf doesn't have to book smack now that Clus is petrify immune. Now we can proceed. You want to take the east exit. Dear Maxwell, why is your damage so bloody random? Head east. East again. Oh, for God's sakes, I took the wrong exit. See how easy it is to get lost in this bloody forest. Return to the big area. Sure is nice being immune to their petrify crap. And sure is nice now that Clark can summon his spirits unhindered. I am sure you all noticed that the snake men dropped a question mark weapon. Generally speaking, when an enemy drops a question mark weapon, it's either a specific and powerful weapon, or it's just the weakest weapon of its kind, and in the case of swords, that would be a long sword. If you fight such enemies a lot, fight them until you have 2 stacks of question mark weapons, because different items do not sit in the same stack, so it's easy to tell when you have a question mark weapon that is not a long sword. This time we are trying the southeast exit of the big area, and continuing east along the straight path. Excellent, we have reached the Heimdall stone. You'll know you've made it because of the save point. Grab the resist ring from the chest and then approach the stone itself. Incoming plot. And now the Moonstone Ring and the Topaz Ring are both repaired, courtesy of the Spirit Origin. If you want to see what they do, head on into the menu and have a look at how they affect Clark. The Topaz Ring claims to make Clark a smarter fighter, however the heck it goes about doing that I do not know. The Moonstone Ring provides Clark with immunity to the light element, and it's not all that useful, because light is an element that you very rarely face. I'll equip the Topaz Ring to see if it makes any sort of difference. More importantly, we can now load this bling up with some boom boom. First though, we need to retrace our steps and get out of this awful forest. Don't forget to check behind the Heimdall stone itself for a hidden pair of elven boots. Elven boots are another accessory, and they bump up the speed of whoever has them equipped, and while they're not crap, they're not as useful as the other accessories, so they're going to get windawed pretty quickly. So, I'll meet you all at the other end of this forest. Head back into the elven village, and you'll see that some trouble is happening. You see, somebody has been caught, and that somebody really should not be here. Who else could that possibly be? Rambard will ask if you know Archie, but even though you know her, that can't save the poor lass from her fate. The elves have a strict law that says Archie must be killed, but the innkeeper will charge out and beg for her to be spared. Sadly, Archie will not realize that this elf is her mother until it's too late. She just figured it out, but the elves will not let her back into the village. They won't let you in either, now that a half-elf is with you. And on that bitter note, I will wrap this video up. This has been Edgar, and as always, thank you for your patronage.